So round one for the Springboks of the Rugby World Cup is done and dusted, getting themselves the victory over Scotland. But now their next challenge is just around the corner. It will be Romania, and I believe we will be seeing quite a different Springboks side lining up for this contest. And in this video, we are going to be trying to predict exactly who will be taken to the field. But it is myself, it is Rugbyitch. You will notice his background is a little bit different to what you would normally see. He is in the airport in Paris. Did get to watch the Springboks game live. His vlog will be linked in the description, so be sure to check that out. But Tim, you watched the Springboks live. You would have felt the atmosphere for that game. How do you think they'll go up against Romania? Surely we see a lot more tries in this next fixture.
Yes, I definitely expect a lot more tries going to this one. I mean, again, when we look back at that Ireland-Romania game, I mean, Ireland put 80 on them, which is pretty impressive to say the least. And again, I'll be honest, I don't expect the Boks to put 80. But at the same time, I do expect a lot more tries in this game because, again, we only had, 2 tries against the Scottish? So I'm definitely expecting at least 5 tries or more. That's what I'm saying. But it should be a lot more than that. But, yeah, we'll see what happens.
I think you've just annoyed about 90% of the Springbok audience, Tim, by saying that they'll only get 5 or more. I think a lot of Springbok supporters want around that 15 mark in this game up against Romania, and unfortunately in that group, Romania are just the side that end up a lot of points against them.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, I expect the Boks to get in the 60s. That's kind of what I'm expecting. I'm just saying that no matter what, we have to have 5 tries or above. If we don't have that, that's just ridiculous. That's kind of the way I see it. But I expect the Boks to be within the 60 mark. That's what I'm going to say.
Alrighty, well, we will jump straight into it. Who have you got as your front row? Of course, last game we saw Steven Kitshoff, Malcolm Marks, and Franz Malharba. Have you got 3 changes for this game up against the Romanians?
I do indeed. I have 3 changes here. There's a lot of changes, by the way, in my team. And if I'm not mistaken, I probably have a fully changed squad here. But maybe not. There's maybe a few names I've kept. But in terms of the front row, I've gone with the likes of Oxenche at the number 1 position. At number 2, I've actually gone with Dion Foray here. I just think this is probably the best game to put him in terms of that number 2. And again, he can obviously suit. He can play in that hooker spot. So I think it's kind of a good game for him. And then, for number 3, this is actually where I've gone with Vincent Koch. Because, again, I think he was one of the only props not selected for that game against Scotland. So that's the reason why I've gone for him to start in this game. So, that's my front row there.
Okay, for myself, I have gone identical with the propping department. Oxenche as my number 1, of course, recently coming back from his injury. He's had a few games since then, though, looking strong.
He was impressive.
Yeah, I think that him at scrum time for the Springboks, in that second half, they seem to actually get themselves a little bit more momentum up against Scotland, whereas in that first half, it seemed to be a bit 50-50, which we're not normally used to seeing for the Springboks in their games. Number 3, I have gone with Vincent Koch, just like yourself. The fact that he didn't play last week, perfect time to give him some game time. But number 2, I didn't go with Dion Foray. I like the way you're thinking, though, maybe trying to get a little bit of depth going at hooker. Yeah. I've gone with Bongi Umbanambi as my starting number 2, seeing as he didn't start in the last game. But now moving on to the lock and joy. For myself at number 4, I've gone with Jean Klein. And then number 5, Marvin Ori. 2 men who didn't play in the last game up against Scotland. Seems like a good choice, and I believe from your eyes you have done the exact same thing.
What? No, not at all. Yes.
Yep.
We can move on. But yes, no, that's exactly the pair I've gone with John Klein as well as Marvin Ori. I just think that those 2 are probably the best suited anyway for this game anyway, because you want to give them a lot more minutes, and this is probably the perfect game for them. So totally agree on that front.
And also with the Eben Etzebeth injury, we have heard news that he's going to be out for around 7 to 10 days, which does mean he's just narrowly back in time for the Irish match as long as his recovery goes as planned. Looking through at the loose forward trio, they had a pretty strong one. Jesper Wiese, he was probably the player that a lot of people didn't expect to see. Did someone just set off the fire alarm? So Jesper Wiese, he was a player that was a little bit of a surprise to see in the starting lineup up against Scotland, but I actually felt he did very well. I gave him a lot of praise on the podcast, of course, link to that in the description as well. But for this game, have you made the 3 changes, or have you decided to keep maybe a little bit of consistency?
I've gone with 3 changes here. Changes. It was bold because I actually wanted to keep one of the names, and it was really Khaleesi, because it's Khaleesi. You kind of want to stick with him, but I don't know. I decided that you want to give players just minutes, and that's kind of the way I've been thinking for this whole squad here in terms of my 23 squad here lineup. But I've gone with Marco van Staden at the number 6. You can cover obviously there. and did that, I believe, in that Scotland game. Number 7, this is actually where I've gone with Quagga Smith. Again, we have seen him play really all 3 of these positions. But I think 7 is probably where he's best suited because he gives something different to what we normally see with Peter Toit in terms of size. Because he's more just agile. And he just goes off and runs, and obviously he's better in terms of, I guess, the carry front as well. So that's no reason why to have him there. Number 7, and yeah, for number 8, this is where I go with Dwayne Vermeulen. I think it's great for him, and obviously, again, I could go with someone. I was actually considering, maybe this is wrong for me, but I was considering Quagga Smith at the number 8 because he has played there, like I said, and then maybe shifting someone in into the 7. But yeah, I've gone with Dwayne Vermeulen there. I just think you're going to give him a lot more minutes. So yeah, that's my loose forward trio there.
Well, I'll be honest. About 5 minutes before we started recording, I did have Sia Khaleesi as my number 6.
Ooh, okay. So you made a switch.
He was one of the main ones that I was keeping in. The only forward that I was keeping similar, just because with that captaincy. But then I realised I had another man who could step up and be captain. So then he got dropped out. And Maka van Staden is now my number 6. Number 7, I have gone with Quagga Smith, just like yourself. We haven't seen a huge amount of game time from that man throughout the last couple games, so I'd like to think now's his opportunity to get himself a start, get some real minutes on the board. And then number 8, man who came off the bench last game, captain for myself, Dwayne Vermeulen. So that's where I gave the captaincy.
I think for mine, just to add, if I had to give my captain, I'd probably give it towards Dylan Fournier, I think, for this game, because the only reason why I'm doing that is because, if I'm not mistaken, in the last World Cup in 2019, who was, see, this is where you're going to have to help me here, because my memory's so bad on this front. Who was our third choice hooker for the Bucks in 2019?
Scott Brits.
That's it. Scott Brits, yeah. So he was captain, actually, I believe, for one of the games in the group stages. So I'm going to do the exact same thing as you, and just give it to more an experienced player. So I'm going to give it towards Dylan Fournier as my captain. But yeah.
Okay. It's certainly a curveball. I was not expecting that. But we'll see whether or not it is the case. Now looking through at the backlines. Number 9, Kobus Reinach. Number 10, Mani Libbok. So still quite a young combination. Reinach not playing in the last game up against Scotland. I'm keeping that consistency of having Mani Libbok in that starting lineup. And I have to say, this is the perfect opportunity for him to have a decent day off the kicking tee, because he's going to more than likely get around 12 attempts at the post. So that will certainly help him. Yeah, it would be a bit of a shame if he wasn't able to get a high success rate. But at the end of the day, with what he's been able to do off the ball, in terms of those cross kicks, in terms of those passes, still means for me, still has to be the starting fly half. But what about yourself? Have you got Reinhardt getting the chance in this game? And if so, is he in the starting side?
No, he's not in my starting lineup here. I actually have gone with the likes of Jaden Hendrickson as my number 9 option here. But similar to you, I have also gone with Mani Libbok. I just think you've got to give him more minutes than number 10. Every minute counts really on his front because, as we all know, he is not seen as the first choice in terms of 10 spots with Andre still out. But every minute that he gets is going to be very crucial, especially going to the Ireland game the week after. So, yeah, no, I'm really hoping that he has a good game in this one. And like you said, really more from a kicking standpoint, because I'll kind of, I guess, less than the noise that he's kind of getting. But yeah, I guess in terms of the 12 and 13, for in my case, which I've gone for, I've actually gone with a two new changes here, and this is probably the combination which I think both of us would probably like to see. And I'm thinking you've gone with this as well, because it's the combination which you like a lot, especially. But I've gone with the likes of Andre Esterhuizen at number 12. I've gone with Caden Moody at the number 13. I just think this is the duo you got to go with. Again, we didn't see Caden Moody introduced in that last game, same as Andre Esterhuizen. I think Caden Moody had a bit of a niggle. I'm not sure. He wasn't there was something saying that he wasn't going to be selected either way for this for that Scotland game. But I think he's going to be available for this one. So that is my center combo. I mean, what about yourself?
Yep, that is identical. Andre Esterhuizen at number 12.
Nice.
I have to say, though, Damien Dialindi, I felt that he stepped up quite nicely in that game up against Scotland. And brilliant. I mentioned about it on my post-match review as well. The 2 players who were selected in this game that were out of form now leave this game being praised the most, which was Damien Dialindi and Jesper Fisa for what they were able to do.
I literally backed them. They're the guys I backed. I just wanted to make that claim just so you guys know I backed these guys. Even if you're out of form, I got your back.
Okay.
But
Springboks to score more than 5 tries, of course, for this game. But For my midfield combination, I have also gone with Moody at number 13. He's a superstar, he's a young talent, and I believe that he's getting himself a hat-trick in the game up against Romania. That is if he is playing.
I like that call. I think this is a game where one of the players can do a hat-trick, so yeah, I like that.
And we have seen 7 players get 2 tries each so far throughout round 1. We are yet to see the 3 being scored in an individual performance. Perhaps the Springboks be the first side to get themselves one. Looking through at the back 3 now. Number 11, I have gone Makazole Mapimpi. Didn't get to play in the last game, and I feel like this is one of those matches that they may decide to give Mapimpi a bit of a crack, get him a couple tries under his belt, which some would say he's been lacking a little bit of for the Springboks in the last few games. Out on the right wing, I have gone with Kurtley Aronsa. If it's not Moody who gets the hat-trick, it's going to be that man out there on the right wing. And then number 15, I have gone with Willy Leroux, the man who didn't get to start in the last game. I've decided that this will be a good game to have his experience at the back, maybe even co-captaincy between him and Dwayne Vermeulen for this game, just to spread it around a little bit throughout the Springboks, but I've gone with him as number 15.
Well, to no surprise here, as we normally do, we've gone with the exact same 3. I've gone with Mapimpi, of course, number 11, Curly Lorenza at number 14, and Milaru as number 15. And yeah, just like you, I agree with all the points you made. Again, Mapimpi, I think to be fair on him, I actually do think whenever he gets an opportunity, he does actually score tries. It's just that the problem with him though is that when you think of how the Boks are playing now, it's like his style of play. I know this is really harsh to say because he's a winger and your job is obviously to score tries, but in terms of, I guess, like when you're not having the ball, I guess like they think that Justin Kobe or Curly Lorenzo or I don't know, just they think they're better suited in that position. So it's interesting because normally, if you think about it, like, you would have the likes of Duhan van der Merwe in this game, and then you have like Mapimpi. Like you could maybe switch that around. Maybe if you wanted to, maybe have a bigger man on Duhan, maybe that would counteract him. But no, it's kind of like it just kind of changes style and how Yaki Snebe has kind of gone into this Boks squad, which I like, by the way. But yeah, I do think Mapimpi will get some tries in this. I'm hoping he does. And yeah, Curly Lorenzo, do agree. He's definitely another one, a candidate for sure. And yeah, Willy Leroux can definitely control and give that access, this is the least, which we all saw throughout the Rugby Championship as well.
Alrighty, so now we move on to the benches. Now, with the fact that you've got Dion Fourie as your starting hooker, it makes me curious to know whether or not you have swung in favour of Umbanambi or Marks to come off the bench here for this game. So 16, 17, 18, who have you gone with?
Well, you know what? I have to do it, guys. I've actually gone with a scrum F here. Hooker. No. No, just joking. But
your face is frozen as well. I think your camera couldn't believe that, and it was like, no, we cannot put this information out into a video. It will get him crucified.
Exactly. This is the tactic which they wanted to try out. They've been testing out Kobe Slanek in that position. No, but no, I've gone with the likes of Bongi Benami there. I just think it's probably a good game for him. Again, coming off the bench. In terms of the props I've gone with, in terms of the 2 props off the bench, I've actually gone with the likes of Trevor Nkane at the number 16 position, number 17 position, I mean. And for the number 18, this is actually where I've gone with Frans Malherbe, just because I think it's one of those where, again, like I said, he didn't really have the best to really have to say, looking back at that Scotland game. And again, he kind of made up for it, so you can say going into that second, but it just wasn't enough. So I think coming off the bench for this one can kind of just give him a bit more experience, to get more just minutes under his belt to kind of get used to this, the set piece position. So yeah, that's the reason why I've gone with him there.
Righty, so for myself, I've gone with Malcolm Marks as number 16, a very dangerous man to have coming off the bench. Number 17, I've gone with Stephen Kitsoff. And then number 18, Frans Malherbe. So the starting
so you're going with the
front row. And the reason I'm doing that is that's going to give them a lot of confidence going into their game up against Ireland, because late in that game up against Romania, the scrums will be dominant. They will probably get themselves a few tries amongst them, mainly Malcolm Marks, the rolling maul of the Springboks. And that is why I've gone with those 3, just to give them that little bit of excitement. Even if it's only maybe 30 or 25 minutes at the end of the game, I'm sure they'll still enjoy a few of those minutes. But looking through now at the rest of the forwards, I have gone with the 6-2 split in this contest. Have you done? You've done the same. So number 19, RG Snyman. Once again, I have got him coming off the bench. Eventually, I feel like they will start him, but for now, he seems to be that option that they'd much rather have come off the bench, have that late impact, some brilliant offloads from him. I talked about it at the time, how if only it wasn't Frans Malherbe to his side when he found that offload, when there was the break. If Maharba was that little bit quicker, they could have found themselves yet again another try. Number 20, I've gone with Franco Mostert, offers you cover at lock as well as that loose forward trio. And then number 21, this is where I've got your starting hooker, and Dion Fourie coming off my bench as number 21. But what about yourself? Who have you got as those three forwards?
Yeah, so I've gone with the exact same two as you in terms of the 1920 with RJ Stamen as well as Franco Mostert. But for the number 21, this is actually where I've gone with Jasper Visa. So that's the I guess the change I've made there. Again, it's just really just more of a switch compared towards Dwayne Vermeulen, but I think it could work out there. So yeah, that's what I've gone with.
And that now just leaves us with two positions, 22 and 23. For yourself, who are your replacement backs now? I want to do a little bit of a prediction because you went with Jaden Hendrickse in the starting lineup. I would assume you've done exactly what I've done, and that is go with two completely new halfbacks here. So have you got Kobus Reinach as your number 22?
Indeed, I do. Yes, you know me well. I was considering Grant Williams, actually, because I thought he just was really good off the bench, actually. But no, I have come with Kobus Reinach as my number 22 option. And for number 23, I've gone with somebody who's very versatile, who can play a lot of positions in the back line. I've gone with Jesse Klill, because he can play, if you need to, he can play one of the winger spots. And of course, he can technically cover both the centers. So, yeah, that's the reason why I've selected him at the number 23.
Righty, so I have got to change, of course. Number 22, Jaden Hendrickse. And then at number 23, I've gone with Damien Willemse. A little bit similar to your reasoning. He can play 10, he can play 15, maybe even 12 if you need him. But I think that they'll want to keep those two men staying fresh, which is Marnie Libok and Damien Willemse, getting them that little bit of time on the field every once in a while to build up that confidence, just in case there is any sort of injury that happens to either one of them. They want to make sure the other one still had that game time moving towards the game. And I think that's somewhere that Fiji, with the fact that Caleb Muntz is now injured at fly half, they're now learning with Tite Teller the fact that that man just hasn't been playing rugby over the last little while, hasn't been getting those minutes. That's what's hurting them at the moment. So that is not what the Springboks will want. But that is our starting lineup and reserves, ladies and gentlemen, for the game up against Romania. Predicting is always tricky with the box because you know that they've got an absolutely dangerous 33-man squad, and any side that they put out on the field can be real contenders. But thank you all very much for tuning into this video. Be sure to check out Rugbyitch's YouTube channel in the description down below. Also, that link to his Springboks versus Scotland vlog will be there as well. Check out the Rugby Recap, our podcast, when we do previews and reviews of the Rugby World Cup rounds. Thank you all very much for tuning in. We will see you all for the next one.